not be possible for us to have back on the runway because in order to do that you have to route the whole building. So that's why you don't have an option.
You know where the that's I know the back of Harold's Plumbing. Well, this is this is the back of it. This is that's an alley. Oh, that's great.
My name is Jim Nichols, and I'm from the University of Washington Department of Architecture. I'm from the Storefront studio, which is an outreach studio that is working in Auburn this quarter and has worked in White Centers and the U District before that. This is a collaborative effort between the University of Washington Department of Architecture, the Storefront studio, King County Office of Business Relations and Economic Development, Historic Preservation, the City of Auburn, Washington, and the Auburn Downtown Association. The mission statement, or our purpose in the Storefront studio, is to apply the academic capital, invest that alongside of community capital, and hopefully connect a community more to its physical place, particularly its old retail main street, and then to foster economic growth and community interaction through that. We'll be leaving behind tools that development officers can use to bring in restaurateurs and small developers. We're going to leave behind color schemes that can be used for the community cleanup painting days. For the student, it's a really great time to get out of the studio and into the real world and to apply their particular skills. For the community, it's an incredible influx of energy, of fresh ideas. For a property owner or a business owner, it's really the spark of inspiration that might suggest a renovation. The three buildings that we chose to look at in detail were the Tourist Hotel, the Mill Building, and the Masonic Temple. In addition to the buildings, we looked at one public open space, which was the B Street Market. These are interesting choices because the Tourist Hotel is really about the railway era, and that was one of the sort of the premier hotels on the traveler's route on the West Coast. The Mill Building, of course, is about the sort of the heritage of drawing from the community, the farm community, and really the broader industrial, the broader context. The Masonic is interesting because it's had such a traditional, pivotal place in the community. It's sort of not living up to that crossroads position right now, and the students are looking really quite in depth at this building, drawing up existing floor plans, coming up with window details that will get hopefully funding for grant money.
I'm Ryan Rhodes from the Storefront studio, and the project we worked on was the Mill Building. The idea was to take the old Mill Building and, by looking at precedences, successful precedences, turn the Mill Building into a brewery/restaurant. We have some precedences here. This is the Powerhouse Brewery in Puyallup, which actually sort of revitalized the area quite a bit to bring a little more modernism down there. This is the Red Hook Brewery in Seattle, which actually is not in this building anymore. This is actually called the Mill Brewery, and it's in Ohio. And this is Engine House Number 9, which is actually a sister to the Powerhouse Brewery, and that's in downtown Tacoma. As you can see here, there's this very contemporary curtain wall here that will kind of be held away from the existing building to kind of still reveal the old structure. And the idea is that it's kind of this new face that presents itself, but at the same time it's kind of transparent to see the old. And it's actually, this setup is for a gravity brewery, which is common, that's why you see these tall towers and a lot of these things. And you'd be able to see that process going on too, which is also kind of an appealing factor of it. And then here we're bringing like this image of the history of the train, and we're actually applying that to the building. And then we're retaining the the big beacon on the top, and that's what we're kind of using as the sign. I think it's very important to keep the integrity of the existing building and the historic value of it and incorporate that into a new sort of modern feel.
Hi, my name is Sarah Wise, and I'm a student with the University of Washington's Storefront studio, working here in Auburn. There's a richness that comes from a built environment that is layered of many time periods and different uses that have changed function over the years. And there's a richness when you walk through a town or a city when there is that kind of layering. It gives you a sense of kind of the continuous timeline of the place and how it's been occupied and inhabited. And to me, it's sad when we lose some of these old buildings and there's a loss of some of that continuity and a loss of some of that history. And it doesn't mean that buildings need to be preserved exactly how they're found today, but also be reused so that there's an essence of that historic fabric retained, so that there's an authenticity to what you're seeing. So when you enter something like the mill building, whether it's retained as a farm feed warehouse or if it's used for something, say the brewery, as some other students have proposed, there's an authenticity when you walk into that building and you can understand this is this really neat old building that's been here for 100 years, and there's this really neat new activity going on in it.
My name is Matt Raddick, and I worked on the Masonic Temple, which is actually one of the few buildings in Auburn that currently has landmark status. So there's some availability there for some funding options. I looked at trying to return the building to kind of that historic character a little bit more and opening up the lower floor. As part of that, I met with the Masons to talk about their needs for their facility. And actually the rental space is one of their main income generators. So I worked with them at developing some different options for floor plans that could more efficiently use the space and get them some more rentable space and some higher quality space that could bring higher rents. I think that the style of the building is so strongly historical in its nature.